I'm Kate Bergeron. In the spring of 2014, Eric Muss-Barnes, a struggling, unemployed novelist, started a video series called Lutherville, in which he documents his purchase of 10 acres of land in the Mojave Desert to build his dream house. Now, his dream house is called Galatea Meridian, and it's a technologically advanced off-grid homestead. Now, Eric really knows his stuff. He was recruited by Walt Disney, where he became a cast member and built websites for over 6 years. He was even courted by Apple Computers to program ebooks. So if you happen to be watching and you're a hiring manager, remember, you can hire Eric to telecommute from anywhere in the world. From New York to New Guinea, North Dakota to Northern Ireland, you can always add his skills to your team. So, can he manage to find a job and successfully finance his dream before he runs out of money and maybe sleeps on the streets? Here's the weekly update on his job hunt.
If you really want to know more about my job experiences, you should check out my book, How You Can Get a Job at Walt Disney Studios Without a College Degree, which outlines all of my job experiences before I got into Disney, including my time working at American Greetings. Well, hey there, folks. Welcome to another episode of Lutherville. Well, since this is the second in the series of job hunting videos, I'm going to presume that you watched the first video, and I'm just going to pick up right where I left off. So, this is week number 5, the 5th of April, 2014. It says after 2 weeks of being ignored while sending out upwards of 10 to 20 resumes every single day, this last week was pretty good with job hunting. I actually had 3 interviews: Workbridge Associates and eGood and Tradesy. Workbridge is a placement agency, and I love working with places like that because they do all the legwork of job hunting for you. Now that I have experience like Disney on my resume, it makes me far more appealing to shove my resume in front of prospective employers. So, that's really cool. The 2 other companies, eGood and Tradesy, were actually in-person interviews set up by Workbridge. Tradesy is basically eBay for women selling their clothes. It was founded by this really charismatic woman named Tracy D'Annunzio. I'd love to work with her. So, we'll see how that one pans out. eGood is a payment system for merchants that gives donations to charitable organizations for purchases. Quite a noble endeavor. So, I like that one too. They show some promise. I also met with 2 potential roommates this week. Now, the reason I was looking for a roommate was because, my rent was going up and I was unemployed, so I actually never did get a roommate. I'll throw that in there as a by the way. I never got a roommate, but this is what happened through that whole process. It says, I also met with 2 potential roommates this week. One was a girl named Lisanne Tulip. She's a gorgeous actress from South Africa. She seemed pretty cool. The other was Jennifer Brofer, who is a Marine veteran and an award-winning video journalist. Jennifer was fantastic too. I really like both of these chicks. Hopefully, one of them will want to move in. I was thinking it might be a good idea to get a roommate to help pay rent for a while I'm still in my apartment. Once I get Lutherville up and running, I should start a nonprofit and have a subsidized guest house for artists and writers to stay at through fellowships. That might be cool. I wonder if that would be feasible. Just something to think about. Lutherville shouldn't be just about me. It should be something that benefits others too. Well, needless to say, I'm no longer thinking of doing it that way. Again, this was 2 years ago, so my plans and my thoughts have changed quite a bit since then. Okay, week number 6 of job hunting, which was the 12th of April of 2014. It says, well, the roommate thing didn't work out. Lisanne and Jennifer both turned me down. Funny thing is, I met them both in the same week, and I've never heard from anyone else. I had that roommate advertisement up for over a month, and my only 2 responses happened within 3 days of each other. Isn't that odd? Well, I did have about 4 or 5 other responses, but they all flaked on me. That's normal for this town. People in Los Angeles are not exactly known for being reliable or keeping their word on anything. It doesn't even faze me anymore. It's sad they're all so selfish, but I have to remind myself they lack the self-respect or morality to behave any other way. Being disloyal is their nature. Fallen angels don't know any better. Once again, a week with no job feedback whatsoever. These weeks are the worst. I spend at least 3 or 4 hours on the internet every day, sending out resumes to every job board I can find. Other than that, I have no idea how to find work. I mean, nobody posts in newspapers anymore. This isn't like an old Three Stooges or Laurel and Hardy episode from the 1930s where businesses have a help wanted sign in the window and I just grab it and say, "I'm your man." Maybe I'll finally get good news from a book agent who wants to represent me. I'd love to make a living with my books and my writing. It hardly seems fair when you have people out there writing mindless tripe and they become bestsellers with multi-million-dollar movie deals from one book. And here I'm sitting on 5 novels that no one even reads. It wouldn't bother me if people hated my books. If people wrote hideous and cruel reviews and told me I sucked and I should give up, I would be really happy, because that would mean people were at least reading my work. It's far better to have people pay attention and dislike the things you create than to have people not even acknowledge it at all. When you want to share your passion with the world, it's far better to be hated than ignored. At least if they hate you, they're acknowledging your existence. Nevertheless, despite these moments of doubt, I keep on trucking, because you see, one day you realize it is far better to perish in the passionate pursuit of your bliss than it is to live in apathy as a slave to unattainable ideologies of weddings and picket fences. Sooner or later, I will start working again. And when I do, every second of my life will be devoted to writing and working out and making the dream of Lutherville a reality. Okay. My feet are on fire. You know, you're probably watching this video in some nice, comfortable, 75 degrees, wherever you're at, right? I don't care if it's the middle of summer or the middle of winter. You're probably in some nice, comfortable room watching this. It was 97 degrees when I made this video, and the sun is beating down on me. Whew, it's hot. It is hot. Okay, next week number 7. This happened on the 19th of April, 2014. Only one interview set up this week. I met with a company called JobSpring. They are yet another placement agency. They have 5 different clients they want to set me up with, including the NFL. I'm not remotely into football. I always say when it comes to sports, if it involves a ball or a team, I'm not interested. I love sports like skateboarding and BMX freestyle and hang gliding and mountain biking. Ask me to go to a firing range and bring my guns and I'm there. Ask me to go to a driving range and hit a golf ball and I'm staying home. Nevertheless, it would be kind of cool to do internet development for the NFL. After working at places like American Idol and Walt Disney Studios, it's important to make sure my resume continues to have very well-known and highly respected organizations on it. The NFL would definitely qualify, even though I would know nothing whatsoever about the teams. I know, Kate Mara would never date me, much to my chagrin. I'd be an embarrassment. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll work for the NFL. All right, is that it? That might be it. Nope, there's one more for this week. Okay. Week number 8. This happened on the 26th of April, 2014. It says, well, the NFL opportunity didn't work out. The problem with these placement agencies is that there are typically dozens of candidates jockeying for a job. So sometimes you never even get the chance to interview, which is what happened in this case. I never heard back from the woman at Writer's House either, and it's been over 6 weeks. Remember, back in March, I told you an agent at Writer's House wanted to see my work? I was so excited that someone was finally voicing an interest. They are one of the biggest literary agencies in New York City, and I was hoping my novels might gain some representation. But I never heard from her. Then I sent up a follow-up email, and that was completely ignored. So I guess I won't be getting an agent to help me publish my books. I actually approached the top 15 or 20 agencies in the world, and they all told me they weren't interested in seeing any of my writing. They didn't even reject my writing and say it was no good. They weren't even interested in reading it in the first place. The girl at Writer's House was the only agent I found who said she wanted to read my work. And then she didn't even have the decency to reject me. She just ignored me. So that's a bit of a bummer. I started selling some of my bicycles this week so I can keep paying rent. I loved those bicycles. I built them myself. I used to be into BMX freestyle when I was a teenager. Here's some footage of my last ride on my 1991 Haro Master on the 20th of April, 2014. This right here is my 1991 Haro Master. I've had this bike, well, since I bought it in 91, so it is now 2014, so I've had this bike for quite some time. This one is actually going back to Solon Bicycles in Solon, Ohio. So it's kind of cool that it's coming full circle. It is a bike shop that's owned by a guy who actually used to be on the Haro team. So it's going back to Ohio. Sold it on eBay. And what is today? I think today is like April 19th or something like that, 2014. So it's shipping out tomorrow. So we'll go over this bike and tell you what it's all about. So this bike is pretty much stock. I actually did not change very much on it. The only things that I changed were the rims. I put on the green mags because it actually came with 48s. I put on the seat because since I added so much green, having the white seat just didn't quite look right, so I put on the green seat. And then I also put on these hombre brakes in the back, and the reason that I did that is because I had to get the tough pads for the mags, and the original rear brakes, the original Dicomp 990s, didn't have the proper attachment for the brake pads, so I had to replace those with these. So they look almost identical. I really wanted to preserve the original look of the bike, so that's what I went with. Of course, 48s are the standard 26 threads per inch on the axles, but for some strange reason, Skyway still makes their mags with a 24 threads per inch in the rear and 26 in the front. So these right here, these frame stands are actually bolted into the frame of the bike, which is pretty cool. But then these GT pegs I had to get separate. I found those on eBay as well. So it was difficult to find these. These were the 24 thread pegs, so I got those on there. We got the Kenda Contact white tires, and of course the clear dice cap. So when I first got this bike, it was pretty much chrome and white. That was everything, chrome and white. So then I changed it to, so now it's kind of chrome, green, and white. Riding backwards was one of always my better tricks too. I remember the day that I learned how to do this. Riding backwards in and of itself wasn't that difficult. The difficult part was learning how to ride into it and how to ride out of it. You see, when I was really into freestyle, that was one of the most important aspects of freestyle, was don't ever put your feet on the ground. Like if you ever touch the ground, then that's it. You know, you just failed the trick. So you have to do everything while you're on the bike. So riding backwards, not super hard, but riding into it and riding out of it without ever putting your feet on the ground, that was quite a challenge. frame stand and the infinity roll. You know, it's kind of weird because it was occurring to me that, like my other bikes, the ones I have left, or I don't have freestyle bikes anymore. So I was like, wow, this might be my last frame stand. It's just a weird thing. I know that doesn't seem like a big deal, but and that was like my best trick when I was a kid. It was like the coolest trick. It was the most impressive. It was the one I would do all the time through, parking lots and stuff. I would do it like at a strip mall where there was like a ton of people. And everybody's always so impressed to see somebody standing up on their bike like that. It was just a fun, show-offy kind of trick, So it's just weird to think that I'm actually conscious of the moment when I might never get to do one again, because I don't have any bikes that have this kind of a frame anymore. And the other thing that I just realized, it's really kind of strange, is that there's been very few years in my life where I didn't own one of these kind of bikes. Most of my life I've had one of these, so kind of strange to be without one anymore. So yeah, just feeling wistfully nostalgic. No news on the job front this week either. No interviews or callbacks, even though I sent out about 50 to 60 resumes this week. However, there is a bit of good news to share. Back on the 24th of April, I actually rode my motorcycle out here to Lutherville for the very first time. It was not remotely easy, and it was really scary to be riding over miles and miles of sand to get here. Keep in mind, I have a Suzuki SV650. That's a naked sport bike, a street bike. It's not a dirt bike. It's not built for this kind of terrain. In fact, the oil filter is right down in front of the engine. So if I were to bottom out on a sharp rock or something and rip off the oil filter, I'd be toast. I kept fearing I'd get stuck or break down, and then what? I can't call a tow truck. How would they find me? With GPS coordinates? That's all I could give them. There are no street names in the deep desert. I don't have any friends who would come to help me. I've lost touch with just about everyone I used to hang out with. I'd really be in big trouble. But I made it on a street bike. That was an adventure. And it reminds me all the more why I must make this dream come true or die trying. Well, thanks again for watching another episode of Lutherville, and I hope that you guys check out the next one. This was update number 2. Update number 3 is coming up.
So, remember I mentioned Eric is a writer? He's written 8 books, including 5 novels. All of his books are available in paperback and hardcover as a special order from any major bookstore and from every online bookseller you can imagine. However, if you really believe in the Lutherville project and want to support it, you can pay any price you choose for one of his ebooks. Be sure to check them out at dovesheetinc.com or just look them up at your favorite bookseller. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks for your support.
Lutherville is an educational series inspiring kids and adults to become excited about innovations in science and technology by documenting the design and construction of a Mojave Desert homestead called Galatea Meridian. Witness the crazy story of how Eric Muss-Barnes, an unemployed computer geek and struggling novelist, risks homelessness by spending most of his life savings to build an off-grid dream house in the middle of nowhere. Having purchased vast acres of the Old West, can Eric find a stable job and create his home before his money runs out? Take a journey where fortitude and a pioneering spirit continue to forge the American dream on the romantic landscape of the American frontier.